It is one of the oldest questions known to man. What motivates our change? How can we determine when a cause is worth fighting for? And the answer is clear. Freedom is worth fighting for, and corruption motivates change. In Shakespeare's tragedy, Macbeth, the character Macduff fights for freedom against the tyranny of the new king, Macbeth. The corruption motivated him to change, and now he has found a cause that is worth fighting for: freedom.
In Act 4.3, lines 232 through 235, Macduff says, "Cut short all intermission, front to front, bring thou this fiend of Scotland and myself, within my sword's length set him. If he scape, heaven forgive me too."
Macduff chose to rebel, despite the risk. Even though he lost his family, he succeeded in overthrowing Macbeth and killed the Mad King. He also convinced Malcolm to return to the cause and fight against the evil ruler. Evidence for these events that have transpired in the tragedy Macbeth can be found on pages 72, 73, 74, 75, and 98.
In our studies of Persepolis, we journeyed with Margie through a fight for freedom and self-expression, and saw the horrible outcomes of not being free. Margie rebelled several times in the book. She did not let the ties of society bind her or hold her back from expressing herself. The first time Margie rebels is when she stands up to her teacher after she makes a comment that she knows is a lie. On page 144, Margie tells her class about how little the revolution changes, and shares her uncle Anusha's story about how he was executed by the Islamic regime, but only imprisoned by the Shah's regime. She is also very interested in Western punk scene. Despite that culture being outlawed, on page 135, Margie puts on all her punk clothes and gets ready to go buy illegal tapes on the black market. She puts her 1983 Nikes on and my denim jacket with a Michael Jackson button and of course my headscarf. Though this outfit may not seem that rebellious, it was actually pretty common to see today. In that time it was considered defiant and radical, but she didn't let that stop her from wearing what she wanted. The government was extremely flawed, so the revolution took flight. It became much worse. These crooked leaders sparked desire in the people, which caused them to make a change. When Margie's uncle Anush was executed, it was a perfect example of how corrupt the government became. Again on page 144, she tells her class about the corrupt government and paints a perfect picture of how corrupt it really is. My uncle was imprisoned by the Shah's regime, but it was the Islamic regime that ordered his execution. You say that we don't have political prisoners anymore? We have gone from 3,000 prisoners under the Shah to 300,000 under your regime. How dare you lie to us like that? Through Margie's explanation of the difference between regimes, it's clear how corrupt the government became. Another tragic example of the corruption of Margie's country was Nilafur, who was arrested and executed for no reason. Even worse, she had a lot more happen to her. On pages 145 to 146, Margie's mother tries to explain to her why it's so important to follow the rules. You know what they do to young girls there. You know what happened to Nilafur? The girl you met at Cosro's house? The man who made the passports? You know that it's against the law to kill a virgin, so a guardian of the revolution marries her and takes her virginity before executing her. Do you understand what that means? If someone so much as touches a hair on your head, I'll kill him. Nilafur was a young girl who died as the product of a corrupt government.
The movie Braveheart is a clear example of a cause worth fighting for. The main character, William Wallace, leads a rebellion against the English king after they murder his wife, and after their soldiers commit many atrocities against the Scottish people. He fights against the corruption of the king to free Scotland and live in peace. There is no greater challenge than facing the English king. After Wallace's wife is murdered, the power of England descends upon the small nation of Scotland, and with a small army of poor Scots, he fights to defend his homeland. In the end, Scotland gains its freedom, even though Wallace loses his life fighting for it, along with many other brave soldiers. But the corruption has been lifted from the land, and they can now live in peace and freedom.
Away from the tyranny of the English king.
Been through Harper's writing how terrible slavery was. In this poem she reveals that terror by saying that she would never be able to rest peacefully when she died if there were still slaves in America. She says, "Make me a grave where you live, in a lowly plain or lofty hill. Make it among earth's humblest graves, but not in the land where men are slaves." She goes on to show what really happens to enslaved people. "I'd shudder and start if I heard the bay of bloodhounds seizing their human prey. And I heard the captive plead in vain as they bound to flesh's galling chain." This powerful imagery tells the reader that freedom and release from the agonizing torture that slaves had to endure is really what's worth fighting for. The poem also shows how corrupt the humanity of slave owners was in that time, by saying, "I could not rest if I heard the tread of a coffle gang to the shambles led, and the mother's shriek of wild despair rise like a curse on the trembling air." She is impacting the reader with so much truth and openly sharing all the pain people have experienced, that the reader can't help but become aware of the treacherous reality of slavery.